am Mrs. Abrams, and I'm the music teacher here at Tilden Middle School. However, I don't teach just music. I try to teach the total child. And if there are issues and things that we know that we need to address with them as students and the school as a whole, then we do that. So one of the focuses that I have is to make sure that I'm including literacy in with the lessons that I teach our students here. One of our lessons that I'm going to share with you today is on creating musical poetry using words associated with the seasons and music. Students will be able to create their own poetries and associate with the seasons, and then later on add music using GarageBand. They will create publications or books, and they'll add their own music to their product using a program called GarageBand. This process fosters creativity, critical thinking, and of course, and most importantly, collaboration. This is one of the many ideas that I have come up with through the years of working with students. As a result, some of the publications that they have done is they've created books called The Day Music Died. Now, in this particular publication, the children had to use their own creative minds and decide how music was, where it was, create locations for it, and then after that, make it go away and somehow or the other bring it back. And as a result of that, it was one way of us being able to document or solidify the importance of having music here in our lives. One of the other things that they did was they went on just simply the life of poetry. Now remember, these are all books that were created by the students, including their own illustrations. Some of them they do their own illustrations, and some of them they download graphics. This last sample that I'm going to show you is when we actually talked about the families of instruments. And all of these productions that they have used, I've always had them try to collaborate one with another. But when it comes to doing the final project, such as their book, the book had to be special to them. So it had to have some kind of identifying characteristic that was associated with them. They actually had a wonderful time doing these projects, and that's why I decided this year we were going to do it on the seasons. So as we take a step-by-step approach, let me let you ingest that for a minute. Just think about some other ideas that you may be able to up with in your classroom that you might be able to use to foster creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration, and also increase the skills of our students in literacy. Okay, so this is the step-by-step approach that I designed for my students. Of course, you can moderate and make this so that it works for you and your own personal preferences. So the first thing that I had them do as an individual was to list all 4 of the seasons. So they did that, and after they did that, they had to come up with just one word as they thought about that season, and just jot them down as quickly as they came to their mind. So if, for example, if they thought about spring, they may think about rainfall, they may think about flowers, they may think about the colors, and then sometimes you might want them to be very specific about what they're saying. For example, if they were dealing with fall and they may use the word Thanksgiving, well, you may want to open up their mind and maybe suggest to them that maybe they could think of some words that are associated with Thanksgiving. What are some of the things that you may do during Thanksgiving? What are some things you may eat during Thanksgiving? What are some things you may listen to or watch during Thanksgiving? So these things help to open up their mind for creativity. Once they have created their own individual lists, then they're asked to collaborate with their group and to share their list. Once they share their list, they create their own word wall, which is what you see right here behind me. And on this particular word wall, they can take words off of everybody's list so that everybody feels a part of it, and they can add them to their word wall. Once the word wall is created as a group, then they go back to individualizing their own activity. And in this part of the activity, they're going to start to create meaningful sentences using the word wall that they created. So they may have, during wintertime, the word snowball on it, and they may say cold, and they may say hot cocoa. So they may look at those words and say, yes, it was cold outside. However, we went out and had a snowball fight, and when we got finished, it was so cold, we warmed up by coming in and having a cup of cocoa. Well, now these sentences make sense to them. They're associated with their own personal experiences, and at the same time, we're getting them to think more about writing. It actually makes the process for writing a little bit easier if they have already created a list of words that they're going to use in their project or in their writings. Now, they don't have to create it as a story. They may want to just create meaningful sentences. And that's okay. And it's okay for you to tell them that it's okay if that's all they want to do is make sentences. Our goal is to get them to write, whether it's through poetry, whether it's through simply writing meaningful sentences, or even stretching or expanding their mind and taking those sentences of those assignments, going through all four of the seasons. And they've all done that as an individual. Then they go back and they make sure that as a group they have created word walls using all four sentences. So when the project is done, they should have at least one to about 8 different things that they have 10 different things. So actually, if you wanted to, you could use it as 10 different classwork grades for them. What would be the first one? The first one was for them actually taking and listing the seasons. The next one would be for them taking and adding words to those seasons, to each one of those seasons. The next individual grade would be them creating meaningful sentences, and you know they're going to create at least 4, one for each sentence. So they should have 4 sheets talking about the seasons. So that's another grade for each one of those. And then you can include their group project in as a grade that they got as a group for everybody working together to create the word wall that they created. And you can, again, apply that as a grade that they did in the classroom. This is one way of making sure that you have some of the grades that you need to have necessary in your grade book. And when you're applying or averaging out grades, that you have enough grades to support whatever it is, the grade that you're giving them. And of course, this project is not one that should take maybe a day or two. It may take you a couple weeks to get through the whole process. And again, that's talking about maybe 10. By the time you get finished, they could have up to 12 grades just from this one project. Now, how is that, you may ask? Well, we've already finished our sentences. We've done our group work. But just remember, now they have to take those sentences that they have created, or stories or poems that they have created, and they're going to go to the computer and they're going to type them out. Each story getting a separate page. And if it's not enough to fit on that page or too much to fit on the page, it's okay for it to overlap. So that's another grade. The other grade they're going to get is by adding simple illustrations, which some of them have already cleverly done on their word boards, and I don't have any problem with them replicating those or adding more. That's where the creativity comes in for them. So once they have done that, then they have more than enough grades for you to adequately grade them on having done a successful project. Now, the last part of this project is actually taking their sentences and putting them on the sheets. Now, the kit that they get will have the pages in them already. These are the pages that actually come in the book. So when they type, they'll type them and then they'll put them in the book like that. And of course, they have to add their own illustrations, like this person did. They added their own illustrations to their own book and all. This one's on the family of instruments. And once we've done that and we've gotten our kits the way we want to, then we send them off to the publishers and we have the books published. And when they come back, they are hardback books. And the kids are official published writers now. And this is something that looks good when they're applying for high schools, to say that they are a published writer now, because the books come back with an IBM number. They have their own personal number that's on the back of the book that belongs to just them. That's their personal number. And if they later on they decide they want to order extra books, they can also do that. So it is a good project for students, and it's not one that you have to just use like in my music class, but it's definitely a great activity for you to use in your literature classes, in your reading classes, and any class that you would like to promote literacy and help to increase the skills of our students when it comes to writing. Thank you. Now, one of the bonuses of this, and how do I make it really make a connection with music, is that after the students have created the books and they have done their stories and they have written their sentences or whatever they want to identify their writings as, then they get the fun part of being able to go on to GarageBand. GarageBand is a program that is on most Macs. And this particular program allows the students to create their own music. So they can lay their own music tracks, they can lay their own beats, they can lay their own If they want lyrical music, they can create that also. And with that, once they've laid that, then they can simply take their book or their stories and their writings and add a new track. And on this new track, they can begin to read or recite their stories or their short sentences and have music being played under it. Once they've done that, they can say that they are really on the next level of making sure that they've added technology to the process of things that they are doing besides the typing. And it's a fun activity for them to do. Again, not just in music class. If you wanted to allow your kids to even create their own raps or just express their feelings and you wanted to add music, it's a nice program to use for you to do with your children or your students in your classroom. And they will love the idea of being able to create their own, and they take ownership for that. So let's have some fun with getting our kids to write more, to think more, to be more creative thinkers, and to learn how to collaborate and help us all to foster creativity. Thanks.